Hi, friends. Host Eric here. Talking with friends, people. Chalo's here. Ikram just left. Ikram came in. I was like, "What is this?" Question mark! Exclamation point! And he's like, "What?" Like pound the head thing. I'm like, "Dude, what do you think this is? My job to make you feel comfortable here? No, I'm not going to sit here and explain to you why I'm just sitting here watching my own music, because nobody's in here. That's what the fuck I feel like doing." Somebody comes rolls in here and starts judging me for just sitting here or not entertaining them enough or something. It's ridiculous. This is the hangout place. It's not like let's have rules town. Come on, NTJs, come over and make some rules for us. That sounds great. All right. So anyway, I'm making a video right now, not about that. I'm making a video about Concord 298, who is agreeably persistent. I like that persistence. You're never going to have me go, God, I can't believe this guy keeps harping on this shit. Why won't he leave me alone? Never, never, never. I understand my nature. I appreciate you reminding me about it. You can remind me 5 times. It's fine. INFP, ESFJ, friendship, relationship compatibility. An interesting question. INFP, ESFJ. INFP goes FINE. ESFJ goes FESI. So we're looking at FINE and then SIFE. Those are the first 2 functions of each. I mean, FESI. All right, so ESFJs I know quite well. I understand them well. I was married to one for a long time. And I get the way they operate. They're good people. They're nice. They are fair in some sense. In some weird way, they're fair. They're fair despite their fourth slot TI, but I think it's because they seek fairness. Uh, as opposed to ISFJ, who kind of aspires to it as a general value, but doesn't really practice it exactly. So, the INFP, on the other hand, is kind of foundationally unfair. They see things as very particularist, although they are genuinely respectful of people's feelings, which makes them not be unfair in ways that are hurtful necessarily, directly, provided they feel like you're not hurting them. See, this is the thing about INFPs. You need to be very cautious with their feelings, and that means prioritizing their feelings over fairness consistently. Now, this is something I've had to learn to do with Kimberly, actually, as well. Um, I need to prioritize the good of the relationship sometimes over fairness. And that's a matter of me evolving a bit as a person and realizing that even if things are unfair, sometimes it's the way they got to be and the right way for things to be. And sometimes the reason I think it's unfair might be because, you know, I got ego issues or something. So, with INFP and ESFJ, right off the bat, I think you're going to end up with some long term at least conflicts over fairness. Now, here's the thing about INFPs. INFPs and ESFJs will get along great provided they're doing something fun. ESFJs like to do fun things, and so do INFPs. INFPs don't get as much opportunity necessarily to do fun things because they generally tend to be more cautious and they're more likely to get burned because they're more easily burned. I mean, the core difference between the FE and the FI there is FE says, I'm not fussy. I'm going to be a good team player. FI says, I care about how I feel about this authentically, and that's the most important thing. And they're both legitimate viewpoints, and they tend to run afoul of each other. So for an FE Dom like an ESFJ, which I think is a much more authentic version of FE Dom than ENFJ, because the SI makes them grounded in their self and their experience and their physical comfort and stuff like that. It gives them an animal quality that brings authenticity to them that is lacking sometimes, I think, in ENFJs, who are too ideationally aware of FE things. ESFJ is very aware of FE things, but it's like contention level argumentation, you know? So, okay, let's look at the full stacks of those two types and see how their various slotted functions will interact with one another. ESFJ goes FE, SI, NETI. On the backside, it goes FI in the ignoring slot. So it's assuming ESFJ assumes their own feelings are going to take care of themselves. They're important. They need to know that in order to successfully manage the full scope of FE considerations, but they don't need to attend to it at all because it's assumed to take care of itself. It's the flip side, the dark side of the moon of FE. The ignoring function is powerful but never understood by an individual, as far as I can tell. I get it about as well as I can get NI, and I don't really get it. You know, it's like it can be brought out of me sometimes. Taylor one time asked me, "What does your NI tell you?" All of a sudden, and the answer was, "Boom, clear." Not something I think to do myself usually, and I don't know if that trick would work all the time or not. But that's an example of accessing my ignoring function consciously with the help of another person. There are other times when I recognize my own behavior as being driven by the ignoring function, and I for me. Now, for the FI ignorer, ESFJ, you're looking at somebody who needs to have their feelings accounted for, but mostly through FE stuff. So, if the other person does enough FE style motions, then the FE Dom is going to feel satisfied that their FI is attended to. It works the same way with FE in the third slot, actually, or similarly. It's like, whereas in the second slot, it works kind of opposite. If it's in the second slot, FE gets mad at inauthentic FE. If it's in the dominant slot, FE goes, okay, that's the effort I'm looking to see. It doesn't matter if it's authentic or not. The authenticity is ignored and assumed to take care of itself. That I wouldn't be here if I weren't authentically feeling things about you at all. You know, it's an optimistic relationship with FI. The INFP, therefore, providing a lot of authenticity, is going to feel very comfortable for the ESFJ, in the sense that the INFJ feels very comfortable for the ENTP, because you got the complement of your nature that is normally ignored in yourself actually present to be accessed, you know? So, because. Hello.
Hi
I'm in the
guys.
I'm in the middle of making a video on ESFJ and INFP personality type compatibility right now.
Yo,
So,
nine.
so if you don't mind muting, I will proceed with that and we can talk later. Okay, so the difficulty then is not going to be found in the alternate manner of feeling expressed in the dominant functions of either type. Let's look at the second function. Well, you've got the right two threes that you're looking for that are present in a dual relationship. So in a dual relationship, the two threes are reversed. So my two is my dual's three, and my three is my dual's two. Um, and that's the case here with ESFJ and INFP. It goes NESI with INFP. It goes SINE with ESFJ. That means that they work together well in their tool function and tertiary function because they're the quality of aspirational value it's a value and value criterion thing. Okay, in Lincoln Douglas debate, there's this thing called value criterion. Value is the thing you uphold. Value criterion is the specific mechanism you utilize to uphold it, and that's how the 2 3s work. My tool function is the specific mechanism I use to uphold her overarching value of consistency, and her tool function, FE, is the mechanism used to uphold my overarching value of uh, harmony, I guess. I wouldn't really normally call FE actually a harmonizing function, but it does end up doing that. Okay, so that's not really its purpose in my understanding of it, but it certainly does end up doing that. So regardless, Kim and I work together in that fashion. So too will the NESI 2 3s work together in a fashion that goes like this. The um, the ESFJ will be utilizing the subjective epistemology, the self-knowing, the knowing of from what's one's happened, what has happened to one, and what one has learned from the past as a tool function to approach new situations. But the ESFJ will be doing that in aspiration of more ideational possibilities. In other words, more stories, better stories, more narratives, more meaning making, and more possibilities. And then in reverse, the INFP will be have an overarching value of a self that's constructed well, of a self well understood, and of narratives that are singular and hone down the self to a progression, to a storyline that is satisfying and, most importantly, authentic to the INFP. So, on that grounds, they will be helping each other, the INFP, ideationally, to attain the overarching goal of a singular self, or a well understood self, and an authentic self. And at the same time, the ESFJ will be providing that self defining consistency that is in pursuit of the goal of a possibility rich narrative. Okay, so then in the fourth slot, the problem is, though, if you're talking about a relationship, they're not providing what the other one's seeking. The FE Dom is seeking TI and is instead getting TE as a seeking function. I'm sorry, instead of getting FI instead of TI. That's going to be a problem because every time they look for, I need help with logical consistency, the INFP steps in and goes, well, here's how I authentically feel about it. And that's not very helpful. Similarly, the INFP seeks TE, the ESFJ provides FE. I need to know how the systems work, not including the motivational matrix. Well, here's everyone's motivations. Doesn't really help. All right, the fifth functions get along fine in terms of the mirror of the first. Sixth functions are countervalued. ESFJ is going to countervalue SE, taking action. They're good at it, but they don't like it, and they think it's a hassle. The INFP concurrently is going to countervalue singular path. Now, this is not necessarily a huge problem area in the sense that the 6th and 7th work out fine, like they did with duality. So the countervalued function of 1, the INFP's countervalued function of NI, is the polar of ESFJ. So even though the ESFJ is blind to NI, it doesn't matter to the INFP. They don't value NI anyway. Concurrently, the ESFJ doesn't value SE. The INFP is polar in SE. So the INFP's blindness to the need to take action, pull the trigger, follow through on decided plans is not going to be a big problem for the ESFJ because they countervalue that. All right, so that's the 6, 7. Then you go down to the 8th function, and you're looking at the insecurity functions. Well, the insecurity function of one of them is Fi, and the insecurity function of the insecurity function of one is Te, and the insecurity function of the other is Ti. So there's where the core problem comes in. They're seeking the other party to provide the thing that they feel insecure about. When called upon to provide your insecurity function, you're gonna feel very stressed out, because it's not something you feel comfortable applying as a methodology. It's something you feel comfortable. It's something you feel like compelled by in some sense. Like if you have Ni as a security function, you feel compelled to avoid dealing with shit right now. You want time. You want time to pass. You don't want to have to take action. If you've got Se as an insecurity function and you're under stress, you feel compelled to take action right now. You do not want to wait. You do not want to let any time pass. With the two insecurity functions here, when you're looking at Ti and Te as insecurity functions, it's going to be a situation where, like, INFP seeks assistance in understanding how best to attain a valued goal. But ESFJ is insecure in that necessarily, because with dominant FE, it means their nature is to not focus on the systems without people in them, because to do so is to prioritize that over the feelings of the people involved. But their nature is that, so they do understand the alternative to considering the feelings of the people involved. It's not their polar, but under stress, when they feel compelled to do something like that, they're likely to be I don't remember what it said on that excellent thing that Susie posted that I was reading the other day that I keep referencing, but I would guess that they don't respond well to people who don't just simply follow directions at that point. When they're stressed, they want everyone to fall in line. They lose their FE entirely, basically. Just like I do with SE. When I'm compelled to do SE, I lose my NE entirely. When Kim's compelled to do NI, she loses her SI entirely. That's how it works. It just came to me right now. It's like, that's why it's your insecurity function, because you have to go against your nature entirely. You can't use your basic nature. You got to use this other form of action, the other form of knowing, the other form of interface. In the ESFJ's case, they have to use the other form of interface, and it's really uncomfortable for them, and they are going to be very limited in how they use it. They need everyone to go along with their thing right now because, God damn it, I'm having to use my goddamn insecurity function. INFP, same thing with the TI. They don't like to use it except in fun. Like, INFP can have great TI as long as nothing's on the line except fun. Okay, so, that's my assessment of it. I think it's I think they're activation partners in Socionics. I'm not sure, but it's a good relationship. I mean, they should get along quite well, but ultimately, there's going to be that 4-8 problem. That's where the conflict's going to come in. I think they're much better friends than they are lovers. Ultimately, that relationship as lovers will break down, although it's close. Actually, given the fact that ESTJ doesn't work, I mean, it might be the best relationship for INFP. ESFJ may be. So, now that I think about that, Concord 298, I think you might be onto something there. INFPs, I want you to consider ESFJs as a possible match. Now, granted, I think ESFJs belong with their dual INTP, but INFP's a pretty good alternative for an ESFJ as well, I would imagine. So, thanks everybody, and thanks for watching Time with Fence People, and don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.